Hello, everyone. Welcome to our latest Meet the Employer event. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Rele. I'm a black man with short hair. I wear glasses and I'm wearing a blue jumper. My pronouns are he, him. Today, we're joined by Ofcom, the UK's communications regulator. They deliver vital work that helps keep the UK connected and shapes the future of how we'll stay connected with each other. Their work covers everything from phones and broadband through to TV, radio, the postal service, and wireless devices. They're also taking on the challenge of making the online world a safer place. And they need people of all backgrounds, skill sets, and experiences to help them achieve their goal of making communications work for everyone. They're one of our inclusive employers with vacancies on our job board. And during this session, you'll find out how Ofcom do their best to adapt your working arrangements to suit your needs and provide access to the support, tools, and technology needed to be successful in your role. Before we get started, I'd just like to say a few thank yous. First of all, thank you to Kirsty and Lydia, our BSL interpreters, and Patricia for doing our captions. Thank you for joining us today. Also, thanks to my colleague Toby, helping with the tech behind the scenes. Today's your opportunity to ask any questions you have about working at Ofcom. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box and they'll be answered in our Q&A session after the presentation. Meet the Employer is part of a series of webinars that we deliver for our Career Hive, a 24/7 accessible site full of tools, advice, and information on employment and employability for disabled candidates. Please, Toby, can you put the Career Hive link in the chat box? You can feel free to go to our Career Hive and check it out after today's event. Okay, so I'd like to welcome Rachel, Nadia, Gisela, Ankita, and Cheryl from Ofcom. I'll come to you one by one, and please can you introduce yourself, your job role, and why you're here today. So let's start with Rachel, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Rachel Rose. I am a diversity program manager at Ofcom, and I am here today to discuss our strategy, the Ofcom organization, as well as what happens once you are employed within Ofcom.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Rachel. And is Nadia with us at the moment?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Nadia.
Hello.
How you doing? Okay. And the same question to yourself, please. If you could introduce yourself, your job role, and why you're here today.
So I'm Nadia Semi Fadi. People just call me Nads for short because that's much easier. I'm a D&I partner at Ofcom, and I'm here today to cover what Rachel just said. So what our D&I strategy is, how we create an inclusive working environment, and how we support colleagues once they're in post and been appointed.
Okay, thank you for that. And we'll go to Ankita, please.
Hi, my name is Ankita. I lead recruitment delivery and recruitment transformation at Ofcom. Today I'll be sharing a little about our recruitment processes, how is that you can apply, what is that you can expect from the process itself, and any kind of advice, guidance, and tips around the process itself.
Thank you, Ankita. Looking forward to that. as everyone else as well. And Cheryl, please.
Hiya.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hiya, I'm Cheryl. I'm a principal in the online safety group at Ofcom, and that's the team that is setting up the new regime for online safety in the UK. And I'm here to talk to you about that aspect of Ofcom's work, which is the newest area.
Thank you. Look forward to that. That should be interesting. Okay, fantastic. So, excuse me. So let's get started then. So first of all, I'm going to go to Rachel to tell us about accessibility and inclusion at Ofcom, please.
Ofcom's 5-year D&I strategy was released in 2021, and it outlined a renewed focus on making sure Ofcom is an inclusive workplace for disabled people. We attempt to ensure all of our processes are inclusive by design. We have been developing our knowledge, behaviour and practices in this area. The vision set out in our 5-year D&I strategy is that we take personal accountability. We are truly diverse. Our leaders are our role models. We are connected to communities, and we are naturally inclusive and fair by design. More information about our D&I vision can be found in the strategy itself, which is on our Ofcom website. Annually, we publish a diversity progress report outlining our progress against the strategy, which includes diversity data such as grade breakdown, starters, leavers, promotions, and also includes targets we have set for disability within the organisation. Our 2022 to 2023 progress report showed that 13% of our colleagues have a disability or a long-term health condition, a 2% increase since 2011. This means we are still on track for our 2026 goal of achieving a 15% representation. So what are we doing to be disability inclusive and fairer by design? We are developing our knowledge and insight into the experiences of disabled applicants and colleagues by partnering with external bodies like the Business Disability Forum and Purple Space. Sound, which is our Ofcom Colleague Disability Network, is really important to creating inclusive workplace for disabled colleagues. They support all neurodiverse and disabled colleagues, providing opportunities for all colleagues to have open conversations about neurodiversity and disability so that as an organisation and individuals, we develop our understanding about what it is we need and what barriers can be removed. We also have an accessibility working group, which we have convened and brings together representatives and expertise from different parts of the organisation. The accessibility working group meets regularly, bi-monthly, identifying actions we can take to be more disability confident as an employer, ranging from creating an inclusive physical environment to structural and procedural actions. We are currently upskilling and developing our career and performance managers to be more disability confident also. We are currently a level 2 disability confident employer, but we are committed and working towards level 3 leadership status.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that with us, Rachel. Really interesting and useful information. I'm just going to go to Nadia. Have you got anything to add to that, the accessibility and inclusion at Ofcom? So I think you're on mute, Nadia.
Sorry, my apologies.
It's okay, Nad.
So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what support is available to disabled colleagues and those with underlying health conditions once they join Ofcom.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk a bit about disability-related policies. This list isn't exhaustive, but just to highlight some of the ones that are pivotal. Workplace adjustment policy goes beyond our statutory obligation to provide reasonable adjustments. and can be used by colleagues seeking adjustments related to life events such as going through divorce, religious observation, etc. We also have a disability management leave policy, which allows for paid time off for reasons related to a disability or long-term condition. For example, appointments or just planned time to manage that. We also have connected working, which is our vision for a hybrid working, which empowers colleagues to work together in person, but also flexibly, which recognises that people might have different requirements in the role. I also want to talk a little bit about our wellbeing program, Thrive at Ofcom, which focuses on our wellbeing priorities. This includes mental health, physical health, financial wellbeing, and social wellbeing, and corporate social responsibility. So doing good to feel good. Provisions that we have in the wellbeing program include counselling via our private medical insurer, a broad employee assistance program, which is confidential, can be accessed 24 hours a day, and can cover lots of different concerns that you might want to speak to someone about. We have mental health first aiders. We have a virtual GP, discounted gym membership, and we also allow 5 days paid leave to volunteer for charitable organisations as well. We were shortlisted for the British Wellbeing Awards for work we've done with an inclusive mental wellness organisation who've been holding sessions facilitated by professionals with lived experience and professional insights into diverse needs of communities. So we're doing a lot in the wellbeing sector, as well as having policies in place to support those with disabilities and underlying conditions.
Wow, sounds like quite a lot of stuff there. Really interesting. Thanks for sharing that with us, Annette. So I believe Gisela has joined us now. And I'll go to Gisela to tell us about, what it's like working at Ofcom.
Hello, thank you very much. I have been here, but yes, amazing. Thank you so much. So,
Hi, Gisela. Sorry, just before, could you give us your name, your job role, and why you're here today?
Absolutely. So, hello, everyone. My name is Gisela Anthony, and I'm a senior associate in the online safety group. I work in online safety supervision, which means that we work closely with the providers and of services that we need to regulate and to provide with the industry, the online safety industry, with the tools they need in order to make the experience of online safety online safer for children, vulnerable people, and everyone else in general who accesses services online in the UK. So thank you very much. I hope that encapsulates more or less my role, but I'm happy to talk more about it later on. Okay. So as I noted, I really appreciate the opportunity to come to you today and share my experience of working at Ofcom, and as well as some of the principles that guide me in my work and life more generally. So I hope that's okay if I carry on. I wonder if that's
yes,
okay.
Please. Yeah, looking forward to hearing your story.
Okay, brilliant. So this is hopefully going to help those in the audience to gain a better perspective that may benefit both professionally and personally. So just to say, I joined Ofcom almost 5 years ago through the Returners program after a 6-year career break. And despite the daunting prospect of returning to the workplace, I discovered a very nurturing environment at Ofcom that fueled my passion to make a meaningful impact on the world and develop professionally to achieve self-realization. So I now lead a team dedicated to enhancing online safety in the UK while pursuing a PhD focused on ethical decision making in tech-based startups. So for me, accessibility and inclusion are not just buzzwords or boxes to tick. I really have to emphasize this. I view accessibility and inclusion as the fundamental values that anyone and everyone needs to have in order to create a fair and just society where everyone can participate and contribute regardless of their abilities, background, or identities. And I truly believe that being conscientious, adaptive, and resolute are essential qualities that enable us to achieve accessibility and inclusion. So if it's okay, I'll just break it down slightly, because being conscientious for me means upholding my own values and ethics, even if it's hard or unpopular. And being adaptive means embracing change and innovation and learning from my mistakes and failures. And being resolute means persevering and overcoming the obstacles and challenges I face. But being conscientious, adaptive, and resolute for me, that's not enough. We are each individually and collectively accountable to ourselves and others, and especially those who are marginalized or underrepresented. It is our duty, I think, to challenge the status quo, educate ourselves, raise awareness, and demand progress. So I really can't say this enough, that we need to speak up, speak out, and stand as allies, listen with empathy, and foster collaboration. Allyship for me is very important. As an ally, I'm deeply mindful that the joy in my day may mirror someone else's profound distress. And as a Black woman, as a brown woman, as I like to say, actually, as a brown woman embracing neurodiversity and my own maturity, I acknowledge that there will be the inevitable moments when I need to rise above challenges and ignorance. And those encounters are always going to be there to test us. But it's in those moments that I gather my strength to champion a world that honors every story. So really, truly, my belief is, whether individually or collectively, in every circumstance, especially in the face of adversity, we must remember to be kind to ourselves, discerning, and use our energy wisely. We all go through periods of growth and little change. I think it's really important, and not every day can be a day of bloom, but the actions we take, the lessons we learn, and the obstacles we overcome each day, I think really, really matter. Even the smallest act of celebrating our uniqueness sends ripples, which over time will culminate in the substantial progress that help us, help others, inspire others to follow suit. And decisively, while we are unique, we are very much interconnected in a kind of I very much like this phrase, which is in the vast and intricate tapestry of human existence. I really love the idea of us being so interconnected, and the reality of it as well. So allyship, I think I really would like to go into this a little bit more, which is action that can be personal commitment, which can be so uplifting, so powerful. And I think there is an aspect to this, which is the difference between being a bystander and being an outright ally, in that the actions that we take, they speak for themselves. we don't need to. We can, but we don't need to always give the feedback if it's not the right context. We can show it. We can recognize and praise people when it's really necessary to validate their efforts and to inspire those colleagues and others to do the same. Can offer mentorship and guidance, resources to overcome barriers and achieve our goals in collaboration with others, or support others in doing that. Can create opportunities for professional development, leadership, project ownership, but importantly, give equal credit and visibility. And that's something I try to do in my space, in my platform. I really, really try to use my platform, whether at work or on social media or in community spaces, to share and elevate the messages and work of those around me, to push for policies and practices that promote equity and address systemic inequalities. So I think overall, it's really important to create environments where everyone feels safe to express themselves without fear of judgment or retribution, where we can celebrate unique contributions that really mean we have a diverse talent around us that we celebrate and support. So we can all contribute to a culture of inclusivity and respect by taking actions that uplift ourselves, uplift others, by advocating for ourselves and for others, essentially. And really importantly, at Ofcom, the ethos of embracing our whole selves at work is not just encouraged, it's very much celebrated. It's something that we all are encouraged to demonstrate, to do to ourselves, to demonstrate to ourselves and to others. We are empowered to realize our fullest potential through flexible working and other supportive measures, as colleagues have noted earlier. And championing this ethos can be very personal. I take it very personally. It's my way of giving. And as an individual with neurodiverse conditions and a form of hearing loss, I believe that accessibility, inclusion are really the bedrock towards contributing positively to society. So it really means a commitment for me to thoughtful leadership, of developing soft skills, such as overcoming my personal mental barriers, seeing strength instead of vulnerability, and converting challenges into opportunities. And importantly, I really believe that leadership is not about titles or positions, but about action, attitude, and the ability to inspire and empower. True leaders foster more leaders, not followers. So really, I really would like to emphasize that embracing your authentic selves and empowering others to do the same means you are a thoughtful leader, in my view. And hopefully I will have done enough today to bring some positive change to your day. I should just add that in practice, overall in the role that in the roles that I have performed within Ofcom, the most important has been to leave my comfort zone and to helping in whichever way I was able to, because obviously there are roles beyond my core role that I was where I could apply my strengths, and other roles that I left for others to focus on, and essentially leaving my comfort zone has meant that shortly after joining Ofcom, I had the opportunity to be a colleague forum representative, a co-chair of the Race Network for almost 2 years. And within those roles, I advocated for colleagues from minority ethnic backgrounds, colleagues in my group and in the broader organization. I also led the policy profession and supported our apprenticeship program. And yes, at the moment, I have now less time given my work and academic commitments, but I'm still active with the Race Network and the Sound Network, which, as the colleagues noted, offers solace to those with long-term physical and mental health conditions or disabilities, including neurodiversity. I'm a mental health first aider, a mentor, and a mentee. And so in essence, I am both the active ingredients and the end product of my own workplace environment, thus creating a safe space, not just for me, but for colleagues to explore, take risks, innovate, and thrive in their personal and professional lives. And hopefully, as I noted earlier, I really hope that the impact that I make reaches beyond Ofcom's accessibility and inclusion goals. So if I have made a positive difference to your day, I will have done my job. And I hope my story and my thoughts showcases the power of resilience and the importance of nurturing environments that support development and self-realization, and that this inspires introspection and how you may embody the principles of accessibility and inclusion in your own life and career, advocate for yourself and others, and by doing so, emerge as a leader of humanity, lighting the way forward towards a more inclusive and accessible world. So yes, thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for your attention. It's been a real honor to talk to you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story with us and your experience, Gisela. Very, very powerful words. And, talking about the sound, employee resource group and allyship. And, I like the analogy about the ingredients and the, the main, yeah. Thank you so much for that. I'm sure we'll come back to you at some point in this call. I'd just like to go to Ankita now to tell us about the recruitment process at Ofcom, please.
Thanks, Rilla. So we understand that disability can present unique challenges, but we also recognize the immense strength and skills that individuals with disabilities bring to the table. So at Ofcom, we are very keen to make our recruitment process barrier-free and simple for everyone. So there have been massive effort in the last couple of years at Ofcom in reviewing different recruitment stages, really looking at it from an inclusive lens to see, does it work? Is it biased? How are you mitigating biases? So for example, even from the point of writing the job description, right? So we have special guidance on what is okay to put, what is that you should avoid, what is discriminatory, what can you add instead of trying to make it inclusive, trying to make the language right. Coming to a shortlist, so we also guide a hiring manager how to sift a CV. For example, if there are people with dyslexia, you could find spelling mistakes on a CV. So we teach them saying, do not assume or interpret that as badly written CV. There could be a reason behind that. So really kind of advising them to have better behavior, like a conscious mind when they're looking at things like that. So also how you're conducting interviews. Are you transparent about what to expect in the interview? For example, are you standardizing the interview process? Is it the same experience for everybody? So constantly looking at the process piece to make sure that by design it's barrier free. If you go on our career site, you will notice that we've also added an additional accessibility toolbar. It's called Recite Me. So while our website is compliant to the disability standards, this gives you an extra feature because there's a big range and spectrum of people who like to see content in different format. So you can play around with the tool. You can remove images, you can change fonts, you can make it the text larger. Anything, the contrast of it, anything that works for you from a visual perspective or just reading perspective, you can play around and make it more accessible, the content. Obviously, we also have a dedicated page just for accessibility and inclusion at Ofcom. So this page aims to give you all the information you will need when considering Ofcom as an employer. Another good thing that we do at Ofcom is we have very well-formed family-friendly policies and flexible working policies. And also, it gives you an opportunity to build it around yourself. So your flexible hours, your working patterns is all dependent on what works for you. So we don't have a dictated pattern saying, oh, we can do 4 days a week or we can do 2 days. Like, it doesn't say that. It's whatever works for you. You can do a shorter hour a day. You can condense them. You can job share. You can term time it. Whatever works for you is what we would like to promote. So we're also very flexible from hybrid working. What does it mean for you to come into office? If it's something of a concern, you can always talk to us. We can change the pattern of working. We can change whatever is expected from the team according to what works for you. So coming a little bit on the process itself. So the process might be different depending on the role you've applied for, but basically we always have a panel interview, which means at least 3 or 4 interviewers are in 1 hour interview. It's based on specific skills, which will always be mentioned on the job description. It will also have competency or behavior-based question, which typically starts as, please give me an example of a time, and then you then proceed to tell us an experience. So my tip always would be, when you're coming into an interview, always read the job description that you applied, that the role was when the role was advertised. And think of the example responses that fits the criteria. So it could be a stakeholder management, it could be a commercial acumen, it could be decision making. Think about things you've done at work, even personal, if it makes sense, in where you have shown an expertise in that. How have you gone about a task? What was your action in it? What was the results? And it's not important that you only talk about projects that were successful and delivered. You're more than welcome to take an example or where something, the project wasn't as you planned, as long as you can demonstrate an understanding of your problem-solving skills or your thought process or your organization skill. That's fine to use, right? But always good to kind of like have a list ready. So when a question is asked, that you're almost in that mode, and it doesn't give you like an additional anxiety or you're like lost for words. So it's good to be prepped in terms of, okay, this is my CV, this is what I've done, and this is what I'll talk about if I were to ask XYZ. Again, we're obviously constantly focusing on processes, but lately what we're trying to do is, you can make all the process that you want, but if you don't talk about the hiring manager behavior or the interviewer behavior or the recruiter behavior, it's not going to give you the output you want. So our main focus is talking about the hearts and minds of our recruitment community. So what does it mean? What do they need? We have a lot of guidance and disability awareness for them. We show them how to make an adjustment. So we're trying to empower them to make the right decision at the time of when an adjustment is requested, and that can be in any form, right? It really depends on what you would like from us at the time of assessment. So there's no list of reasonable adjustment. It could be extra time. It could be looking at the template of a questionnaire, or the framework, or the names of the panel, or just anything that you think is going to help you, like maybe show up with a notepad. Maybe you don't want to do a face-to-face, you want to do a virtual interview, whatever that might be. We are more than happy to make that adjustment for you. From a compliance point, we do track our adjustment request completion, which is right now at 100%, which means that every time an adjustment has been requested by the candidate, we have been in a position to fulfill it. Also, one last thing to mention, which comes up all the time. So while currently we don't have a list of alternative ways you can apply, we are very open to you coming and talking to us about it. If you don't want to submit your resume, you want to do something else, you will see on the website there's an email that write to us saying, I'm having issues with my application or I cannot do it. Can you provide me an alternative way? And somebody will contact you and walk you through that.
Thank you. We are going to send an email address to the attendees afterwards, from this call. But what is that email address? Would someone be able to write that in the chat box?
Yeah. We can write that for you.
Thank you, Ankita. And just one quick question before we go on to Cheryl. I understand you have loads of new. You have a new office in Edinburgh.
Yes.
What are the locations for where the jobs are available for Ofcom, please?
So in 4 main cities for us, it's Cardiff, it's London, it's Belfast and Edinburgh. That's where our offices are.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can be in certain radius of those cities because we work on hybrid working, so you don't have to be in office all the time. It depends on what your team needs and your manager needs. So there is a little flexibility in how further from the office you could live. Sorry, Manchester. I forgot the big one in Manchester. Those are the offices. So Edinburgh, if after this webinar, Relay is going to share a document with you called Candidate Pack. It tells you tips of interview and also gives you all our location, and all our offices are accessible. So easy to access. Obviously, we made sure that it's an easy location for all the candidates to come in, colleagues to come in. So those are location. Typically, all roles are, we call it location neutral. That means we will hire wherever the person is.
That's brilliant. That's good to hear. Thank you for sharing that, Ankita. Okay. And now we'll go to Cheryl to tell us about Ofcom's new regulatory responsibilities regarding online safety, because I believe a lot of job roles are involved in this sector. Is that correct?
Yes, I can cover that. So yes, for those who have joined since the start, I'm Cheryl. I work in the online safety group at Ofcom with Gisela. I've been at Ofcom for over 7 years, so quite a long time. Before Ofcom, I worked in financial services and moved sideways into Ofcom. I've worked in various different teams within Ofcom, but in online safety for the last 2 years or so. So yes, why are we talking about online safety? It's the newest area of responsibility that Ofcom's taken over as regulator of the communications sector. It is going to be the biggest area of growth and recruitment for Ofcom in the coming years. I'll briefly explain what Ofcom's powers are. So, government have put rules in place where social media services and search services, like Google, for example, will have to protect people online and keep them safe, especially children. Ofcom's job is to set the specifics of the rules for those services and make sure that they comply with the rules. Where they don't, Ofcom can take action and enforce against them and fine them, amongst other things. We're at the beginning of the journey, I would say. The legislation passed last year and we're building the operation. That said, we have around 350 people that are working on online safety all across Ofcom in lots of different roles. And this is an area where there will be lots of opportunities coming up in the next couple of years. You don't necessarily need to be an online safety expert to come and work at Ofcom in this space. There are some specialist jobs, but the majority are not. and we look for people and recruit people from all kinds of backgrounds. It's definitely more about the skills that a person has and whether they can be applied to this specific role. It obviously depends on the job, but different things that we look for might include analytical skills, so problem solving, communicating, explaining things in a simple way, project management, being able to build relationships with different people, things like that. And I can answer more questions about online safety as needed. But my view on what's kept me at Ofcom for 7 years, I would say that there's a positive work-life balance. It's a very inclusive culture, and everyone is encouraged to bring their whole self to work. And I would strongly echo a lot of the things that Gisela said, very passionately and eloquently. There are lots of development opportunities at Ofcom to learn new things. I have moved sideways and done lots of different roles and learnt lots of different skills. There's also opportunities to be promoted as well. One of our core values is collaboration. It's a very collaborative environment, and people really care about each other and about working well together and listening to each other's voices. Overall, the mission is important, particularly in online safety, and it's very worthwhile work, which is very interesting and engaging. Wellbeing as well is very important at Ofcom. There's lots of staff networks, again, as Gisela noted. There's a big focus on having positive line management experience, coaching, mentoring, and as Ankita possibly mentioned, flexible working and adjustments can be made to suit people's needs, and obviously part-time and things like that. The benefits package is also positive. So I think was mentioned before, there's things like physiotherapy for injuries and counselling. That's something that I've personally used in the past, following a bereavement and kind of trying to deal with that in the workplace. And also around that time, Ofcom was extremely supportive and flexible. So those are some of my reflections on sort of what's kept me at Ofcom for 7 years. And that's it.
Thank you. Sounds good, Cheryl. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'll say to everyone, if you like what you've heard so far and want to check out the latest vacancies from Ofcom, then you can go to their employment hub on Evenbreak's website to apply. Please, Toby, can you put Ofcom's Evenbreak Employer Hub link in the chat box? Thank you. We've got about 20 minutes left, and I'm just going to have a quick look and see what questions we have in the Q&A box, and we can answer those. Okay, so we've got 2 questions so far. Okay, one of them is not a question, but it says, Gisela, empowering speech. Thank you for sharing your experience. Okay, and then we have a question here. It says, I'm a great communicator, problem solver, excellent customer service, analytical, and I absolutely love to bring the best out of people, which means I'm a result-oriented person who is passionate, inspiring, and empowering others about independence and well-being. Okay, thank you for that. Right, so this one's been answered already. Let's see what else we can talk about then. Could anyone from the panel give us some examples of workplace adjustments that's been made for any colleagues, please? Would anyone be willing to share any examples on that?
I'm happy to do so.
Okay.
I won't speak. I won't speak about other colleagues, but I can speak about my own reasonable adjustments if that's helpful.
Oh yes, please, Nads. Thank you. That'd be really helpful.
So I have about 3 underlying health conditions at the moment. So I suffer from, or 4 actually. I suffer from generalized anxiety disorder, PTSD, agoraphobia, and I'm also mobility impaired. I'm on a walking stick. I have been for about 2 years now. So the adjustments that I've experienced in the workplace is because my anxiety can often result in insomnia. I've been allowed to start later when needed. So if I don't get to sleep, as I do often, and sometimes until 5 a.m., I've been able to start at, say, 10 o'clock so that I can get at least a little bit of sleep before starting work, as well as having later finish times. Sometimes I've taken longer lunch breaks when my anxiety and my insomnia has been really bad, just to allow me some time to decompress. Yeah. I have also been issued with a larger laptop and a screen at home to help me with multitasking when I have lots of different information going on. And
was that, access to work involved in that?
No, that was via occupational health. I've also, because of my agoraphobia, and it goes up and down. So sometimes at the moment I'm 100% working from home because we're going through quite a bad period. But last year things had recovered, so I also managed to get a grant via Access to Work, which covers my taxi costs in and out, because I have been prone to getting on a tube can be very, very difficult for me, in London. So I've also had that, which obviously the organisation supported that application. So I've had an array of different workplace adjustments put in place for me.
Brilliant. I can relate to the going on the tube because I'm a wheelchair user myself, and I try and keep out of rush hour when I can, because
yeah, for me it's a mixture of being on a walking stick, so always getting concerned about whether I'm going to get a seat, and then that anxiety kicks in, and then there's the agoraphobia, which is the fear of leaving my house entirely. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Nance. We talked about Sound, the employee resource group, and we've talked about Thrive at Ofcom. I don't know if anyone would be able to give me some more info about, you have some communication services specifically for disabled people. Would anyone be willing to talk about that? Are we having Rachel?
I can speak to the comms part. So we have within the organisation, when applying for roles in recruitment, we have a bias indicator to ensure that we're not utilising particular words that rules out particular kinds of candidates when they're applying. Also, once you are in post, we ensure that we follow up with communication in regards to how was your experience when being recruited. So how did you find the recruitment process? How did you find the onboarding process? So looking at, is there anything we can do to improve within that process to make sure that we make it easier for those coming behind those who have coming already? Once in post, for example, we have a communications portal on our intranet. So that's our internal internet that enables people to have transcripts. We have teams that provide larger fonts and larger communication prospects. We also can record meetings so people can play them back if they're not able. So for example, like Nard just said, Nard doesn't start sometimes very early. So if Nard's miss a meeting, we can record that and Nard can watch that back and be able to communicate within the teams within that space. I'm just thinking as well in regards to communication periods. So for example, we have particular listening capacity. So we have reasonable adjustments for those who have hearing aids and speech conditions as well. So those are some of the things that we have within the organisation. Reasonable adjustments also include how comms are disseminated. So for example, if we have a meeting and you need paperwork prior to that meeting, that communication is communicated immediately as well with larger fonts, particular languages, for example, or just different types of reasonable adjustments that you're able to afford. We also have a workplace adjustment passport. So that means you document your reasonable adjustments. And should you were to change line manager, you wouldn't have to disclose all of that again or go through that conversation. If you feel uncomfortable, you can use that document to inform your new career and performance manager about your condition and what reasonable adjustments you have or workplace adjustments you have. And that can then be put in place immediately. Because I know I carried mine because I have invisible disabilities and disabilities as well. I carried my workplace adjustment passport from a previous organisation and brought it directly into Ofcom, so I was able to use that. So that was really good to be able to take that.
So that was really a seamless transition.
Yes, most definitely.
Wow, that's good to hear. Thank you, Rachel. Thanks for sharing. I think there's another question that's come up here. What experience has Ofcom had in accessing support and funding from DWP, i.e. access to work or other types of outside support?
So I can speak on my own experiences of the process that I went through when applying for access to work grant for travel to work. So normally the process for me, it was instigated by myself. So I applied via the DWP website. I had to give details of where I worked, what my underlying health conditions were. I think how long I'd been diagnosed or been suffering from those underlying health conditions. And then DWP then goes to Ofcom once you've had your initial conversation with your DWP advisor. And they basically just require from Ofcom sign-offs, the confirmation of your job, where you're based. And I think that needs to be signed off for your manager, and then Access to Work will award you a grant or equipment. I'm not sure how it works with respect to equipment, but in my circumstances, I was awarded a grant for taxi fares in and out of work for a certain amount of days per week. So that's how it's worked in my instance. I'm not really in a position to speak on, and I don't know if there's anybody else on the panel today that can speak on about more physical computer and assistive technology type grants. But I know that, for example, my equipment has been supplied personally by Ofcom. So, but outside of that, I'm not really in a position to speak. But I can kind of speak about the experience of DWP and the experience of what Ofcom did in my situation.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Nats.
Hi, I'm also
happy to say, or Gisela?
Apologies.
No, Gisela, go ahead, please do.
Okay, so I just wanted to note that the experience that I've had has been that I went through a workplace needs assessment, and then that was fast tracked so I could have access to the software and the hardware that I needed, in order to be able to have the support that I needed to perform my role well, and for my well-being as well. And aside from that, all that has happened has been that anytime I needed to update, or to get more support, I usually will contact the person that has been supporting me within the people and transformation team, within Ankita's and Nad's and Rachel's team, and they will fast track it, and there won't be much of a kind of a red tape, to be quite honest. It's just a matter of, in some cases, of getting approval from my line manager, or the business partner for the group, for online safety group. But aside from that, it's just pretty much a question of logistics and just waiting for someone to contact you, which is actually quite fast. So I would just note that the experience is quite seamless, and I the other side of this is that it's actually parallel to what I have experienced at university with the DSA, which is a disabled students allowance, which I also have. And actually it helps me see what works, because I have the two contexts, and actually there's differences in with regards to going to lectures or working. Not much, but there are certain differences, and it's the attention to the circumstances and context that I really like about the two, in that they work really well, and what I would use for one might not always be what I use for the other one. I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for sharing that, Gisela. Thank you. Okay, so maybe we could fit in one more question, and I'll put this one to Ankita, if that's okay. How would, what was I going to say? What would you advise a candidate to do to ensure that they stand out in the recruitment process?
So let's start from the beginning, right? Your CV. So in the absence of anything else, we are still very reliant on your resume being the first place that will find out what you've done. So while it may be a lot of effort to customize every CV to every job description, but there should be some kind of alignment. If we have said you have to have an experience drafting a policy, let your resume show that in some way. If not policy, some kind of a comms, communication, written communication coming out, because we are really just comparing what we've asked as a need of the skill for the role to what your resume tells us. So keep that in mind. Don't just blindly apply. Make sure your resume is answering that question, right? Because otherwise you'll never get to the next step, which is unfortunate. For the interview, again, like I said, be intentional. Think about what the role is. So you don't have to stand out, as long as what you're saying matches the experience that we are after. That's what you should be going at. And the feedback is not always relative. You're not getting compared, but you need to bring out the best in yourself when you're sitting across that, and ask for adjustments, right? If you are better in a virtual environment, ask for that. If it helps you to stay there with a notebook, take a pause, take the question in, and that's okay. Like you can really, you don't have to answer immediately the question is asked. Take a moment, write it down, think of things, and use it. You can also use the same example as long as you're bringing a different angle of what the question is. So think about what the question is asking you to do, and then collect your thoughts and then answer that.
Thank you. So I hope everyone will use all those tips and advice to apply to Ofcom roles. So what we're going to do is after this call, we're going to send an email to you which will, the email will include a candidate pack, which shows you what to expect and how to prepare for an interview at Ofcom. And there'll also be an email address to contact Ofcom if you have any queries. Okay, so this brings us to the end of our session with Ofcom today. Thank you very much for attending. Excuse me, Rachel, Nads, Gisela, Ankita, and Cheryl, thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciate it. And I'm sure our audience has got to know a bit more about Ofcom, and hopefully they'll be applying to your roles. Toby, Kirsty, Lydia, and Patricia, thank you for your help today as well. So to everyone else, I hope you feel your questions have been answered, and we look forward to seeing you at our next Meet the Employer session. Don't forget to check out our upcoming events on the Career Hive website. Please, Toby, if you could put the link for the Career Hive events page in the chat box. So all that's left to say is, everyone have a good day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
thank you.
Thank you.